I'll do the call to order and the invocation, then you can take roll call. Miranda, how's that?
Okay.
Okay.
You're live on Zoom.
We are? Okay. All right. Bujuanin, good morning, everybody. Minagajib. Welcome to the special RTC meeting on June 15th, 2022. We're doing a little bit of a different format today. We'll be having department updates from our departments. So with that, I will call the meeting to order at 9:12 a.m. And invocation will be a moment of silence. We have Vernon Adams, who will be our spiritual advisor. And once we get him the schedule of the RTC meetings, he will be doing the invocations and all our ceremonies and everything for the Boys Fort Band. So with that, I'd like to have a moment of silence for invocation. Miigwech. Today we have Miranda Lilia as acting executive director. Robbie is off, and so she will be conducting the meeting in Robbie's absence. So I will turn it over to her.
Thank you, Kathy. Next on the agenda is roll call.
Kathy Chambers.
Here.
Dave Morrison Sr.
Here.
Shane Drift.
Oma. Here.
Travis Morrison.
Here.
Peter Boney.
Here.
With that, I'd like to also welcome Regina. This is her first RTC meeting that she's doing. Nikki is on leave as well. And Regina will be assisting us with today's meeting. Welcome, Regina.
Thank you.
No pressure, okay? Okay, next we have approval of the agenda.
I just have one addition. I'd
Okay.
like to add the Planning and Community Development Director, Carol Burr, to the department updates. We
Okay.
can put her in after Public Works.
Okay. Okay. Any other additions to the agenda or any changes? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
Move.
Moved by Chief. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Silent, motion carried.
Next on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes, but there are no minutes ready for this meeting.
Okay. We'll table the minutes then. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Well, to be tabled till next meeting.
Through the table.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Wait.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent, motion carried.
Next, we have the consent agenda.
Okay, on the consent agenda, we have the following items. A contract agreement between DHS OEO Shelter Capital Funding, which was a 400. Approved resolution number 110-2022, authorizing payment of A&E services for Evelyn C-Store out of the ARPA funds and approving contract with DSGW for the A&E services, 400. C, sole source to Quality Flow, 15,460 to repair T3 lift station on Tibbetts Trail. Resolution number 111-2022, endorsing Governor Walz and Lieutenant Governor Flanagan for re-election, 400. Approved early Head Start cost of living allowance increase, 400. Approved Head Start cost of living allowance That's on there twice. Oh, early Head Start and Head Start. Okay, COLA increase 400. Approved Head Start and Early Head Start Consolidation Grant 400. Approved renewal for professional liability insurance for medical clinics 400. Approved resolution number 112, 2022, general council agreement for Jacobson, Magnuson, Anderson, and Halloran for 3 years 400. Approved media list for event on June 7, 2022, land ceremony. Approved community cleanup bid and contract for DSK Home Preservation LLC 400. Approved sole source to purchase 2-year Rosetta Stone subscriptions 400. Approved sole source to United Bus Sales for $84,000 400. And approved contract for Native American Healthcare Group LLC 400. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Yes, I got one question relating to Governor Waltz and Flanagan. Did we ever receive anything from them regarding the land that we bought back?
No,
No?
not to this date. Unless something's in the mail, I haven't seen anything.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Next on the agenda, we have the department updates. And first will be Kim Griner with accounting.
Morning, Kim.
Morning. I have a question. Do you want me to share my report on the screen too as we go
Sure.
along?
Sure, if you're okay with it, yeah.
So in the accounting department, we have 4 separate reports kind of. So just bear with me while I get these up. If I can share screen. I'm just looking for the right one right now. Share. I gotta get the right place. Get down there. Word. I want to start with the ARPA ones first. That's what I'm looking for. Just getting used to this. Okay. So in the accounting department, we have the accounting functions, and we also have the ARPA coordinator for our funds for ARPA. And so we're going to start with the ARPA report first. And the other thing is that when we were first given the instructions to do this, we were supposed to, it was for the June 1st meeting, and we were to have them in 5 days before that. So we had to cut off on the 20th so we could get our reports complete to come in. So that's why mine may be different than others, because we had done that. So this is from Darlene Johnson. And so she had we had an ARPA meeting on 5/12. Normally we have 2 a month, but being this is short, that's why. So what she's been working on was the Bluestone is on board and following timelines. She's been working with directors and POCs, which are point of contact tax assigned for the various projects the council has wanted to pursue, mostly for the grant, because there's a lot of other grants other than the U.S. Treasury funds. She's been updating grant lists that she gets from Jeff's office and from Bluestone every week and puts them on our various team pages. We're in phase 2 with Bluestone, and we're moving forward with finding funding for projects. And she's been doing service and budget memos. So her upcoming events is on Thursday, there was a Zoom meeting and the directors and POC on May 26th about implementation planning, where we went through some more forms Bluestone was requesting. Bluestone will be here in person. It'll be Alex, Jason, Kevin, and the council to review implementation of some projects. And I believe that's the economic diversification plan working also on the 29th. And at this time, when she wrote this, Alec was going to be available on June 30th for in-person questions from directors and point of contacts working on their projects. But his schedule changed, so he'll be available virtually. He will not be in person.
Okay.
What's happened already, they got the scoping sheets from the point of contacts and the recovery allocation planning process, which is the beginning of phase 2. She went over the billing and budget memos that she's been looking. We got notice of the Native American Business Development Institute grant, and that's for a feasibility study for, you can pick one business to do a feasibility study for, initial feasibility study. She did some budget task memos and funding opportunities. And right now they're working on looking for funding for a total of 60 different projects. And then some brief notes from the ARPA meeting on the 12th. Shane mentioned we needed income from other sources. Doris talked about this software for grants management and where we're having a webinar. Randy talked about talking with Lake Country Power about energy. Mayan talked about renewable energy and electric cars, and Lynette was working on a grant for a feasibility study, and they were having a second site visit with Kate from Bluestone, and there was staff interviews. That is Darlene's report. So the next thing we're going to talk about is daily transactions. And now please keep in mind, this is May 1st through the 20th. And we broke it down kind of by the major daily processing functions within accounting. So the accounts payable, the regular RTC runs, there was 4 runs for a total of $753,779.55. There was 3 separate runs for the RTC, which was 298 checks, 1 run for PRC, which is purchase referred care, for 41 checks. Tax credit 1 had 1 run for $359.58 for 1 check. Tax credit 2 had 1 run for $855.54 for 2 checks. Tax credit 3 was 1 run, which had for $1,170.46 for 3 checks. New Moon had 1 run for $2,684.23 for 5 checks. The Community Redevelopment Corporation had 1 run for 1 check for $804.50 for 1 check. And then we had 12 emergency runs totaling $33,396.60 for a total of 46 checks. That is related to, those are runs for funerals and health, various things. Accounts receivable, we do not have numbers on right now, and I'll explain that later when we get into this report. Purchasing, there was 280 purchase orders issued in the month, in those about 3 weeks, for $340,872.85. Insurance, there was 4 driver's license checks. They were all good standing and insurable. There was 1 insurance claim for the forestry building water damage. We added 2 items to insurance. We had the garbage truck and the farmer's market trailer, and we had 0 things removed from our insurance. So now payroll, this is going through that, and our system calculates, we pay our benefits on the first payroll. So and plus the timing, there was only 1 major RTC payroll on here. So it's going to look like the benefits are really, really extremely high. But when you do have a full month, it'll be different. So there was 4 payrolls processed at this time. There was 2 for ambulance, which we do the ambulance people on the off payroll weeks from the RTC, 1 RTC and 1 Heritage Center payroll. So the total of all those 4 payrolls, there was 310 checks. There was 244 employers and 66 vendors. Vendors are the benefits and the deductions from employees' pay. So the total amount expended in that time frame for payroll benefits is $809,521.32. The net pay was $307,161 with deductions of $183,605.58. And deductions, we let people have a wide variety of deductions. Benefit costs for that pay period for that month were $318,754.17. We had a total hours worked of 14,867.25, overtime hours of 171, hazard pay hours of 486, hazard overtime hours of 11.25, annual leave hours of 1,256.75, sick leave of 825.50 hours, RTC excused of 120, 0 holidays, emergency sick leave of 110.75, extraordinary hours of 82.5, and leave without pay of 34.5. So the next area is travel. There was 66 travel checks for a total of $25,866.59. There were 16 reservations made. So account payable, this is from our staff, is going good for the most part. I know we have some past due at times, but is usually due to turnaround time after getting the bills in the mail. For the AP checks to get for the AP clerks to write up and then distribute and get approved signature, and by they get back to it, it's usually paid a week after it's a due date. So like a Lake Country power bill comes in and we only have so many days, but by the time they get it out and get it back, so there's some crossover in the mail. Or there might be not proper paperwork to finish paying a bill. So like getting a purchase order in. Accounts receivable, which I would mention, is still behind because we had some turnover in accounting, and the accounts receivable person had been doing purchasing and accounts receivable, and then we had to get them trained, and we have some other help going on. It's still, so it is still behind. That's why we don't have numbers on there, because we're getting caught up, but we are getting someone to come in and help get caught up to date. Staff member was doing both accounts receivable and purchasing from November of 2021 to March of 2022, had software, the accounts receivable clerk has had training with a software company on the IR process in May, and is also working with, and we have an outside accounting firm, Whitfley, that is helping us get caught up. Purchasing is getting back on track, and there was some confusion when the purchase agency first started with the email, because there was 2 different emails for her, and having difficulty with DocuSign. We've further since that time and have discovered a few other processes in DocuSign, and we're working it out to get more timely. Payroll always goes smoothly. There has been some improvement in getting time cards in by due date, and we're not having to remind as often. And travel has been going good. Still have to send reminders at time for employees to get their advances cleared up. This position will be vacant as of June 1st. We currently do have 2 open positions in accounting. And going from there, and then just a shout out to the staff. They've been working really hard, and they've been putting a lot of things on the share drive. That payroll was already being put on the share drive. Accounts payable has been putting copies of checks on the share drive, and purchasing has been putting purchase orders on the share drive. So we're moving to more of a electronic records. We still have our paper copies, but we also have those to share quite much more easily. So the next area I want to talk about is, I want to close this one out and then go to this one. So this is the program accountants. So these are their combined numbers. So the number of grants at the beginning of this period was, they had 385 grants they work on. And there's 4 program accountants currently. There's Laura Larson, Beth Cook, Sue Larson, and Andrea Sokolowski. And one of our open positions is a program accountant. So we added 3 new grants, which was a housing stabilization micro grant, an ARPA food support grant, and an ARPA food, and there's 2 different ARPA food support grants. We had 0 closed out, and so we had an ending of 388 grants that those 4 individuals work on. The number of payroll reclasses, there was 7 sets of payroll reclasses. They had to reclass salary and fringe from 188 to 258, 096, and 268 due to these occurring before the start of the new grant cycle. They had to reclass salary and fringe from 721 to 727 due to Chaz Wagner leaving, and the grant won't pay out of the leave balances. They had payroll reclasses from April and March for grant 192 to 190, from 160 to 252, and 589 to 587, due to not spending money down before the grant ended. So they're closing out those grants. Number of expenses that had to be reclassed due to not normal entries. They had to reverse some double entries, adjusting indirect costs and various fund reclass between lines due to incorrect numbers on PO or check request. They recorded benefits for 909, revised the grants receivable 492, revised grants receivable for 213, and reversed duplicate entry in 721. They had some reclass checking in October from 125 to 500, reclass program services in 252 amongst that must be along in departments within that grant. Charge benefit dollars from the 127 for miss from human resources, and reclass dollars from 530 to 311. Incorrect number was used. We do interdepartmental payments. And so this is a program paying one of our own departments. There were 6 of those. Those are for license plate JVs and maintenance JVs. We have 2 programs that we had to return funds on. It's not that we did not lose the money. We had to return them for 2 various different reasons. The first one was on the CCDF grant. Didn't process our construction letter for moving funds in a timely manner, and we had to return the 2022 funds, but and then they had to reclass it on their side, and then we had to draw it from 2021 to make their electronic records reflect correctly what would have happened. And in Title 6 program, we drew down too much money, and so we had to return it, and then we have to just redraw it when we actually spent it, because you cannot have more than 3 days of federal cash on hand for most programs. Number of draws. So yes, they're kind of, there's lots of names and acronyms for drawdown sites. PSM is payment management system. But you had to figure out how much to draw and create the spreadsheet. So they did one PMS draw and one ASAP draw. There was 3 site visits or desk audits, the MIAC language grant, the victim services, and VAWA special projects. And the program accountants submitted 41 invoices to get reimbursed for money spent. For 39 were on a monthly basis, and 2 were on a quarterly. So the major things that they worked on, they had finance meeting with the Boys and Girls Club for My Hub website. They had an accounting department meeting. They had an EPA meeting with Chris, Beth, and Dan, I can't say his last name, to go over year-out closeouts and update narrative. They had drawdown discussions on the CCDF fund with Vonda, Christine, and Travis. MIAC language grant site visit, which was virtual, accounting department meeting, staff meeting. They had the 477 core meeting. They premiered and submitted 2 desk audits for 519 and 549. Took over monthly rent health building entry. That's the human services rent JVs from Darren upon his departure. Assuming fixed asset management, New Moon monthly subsidy reporting, set up new funds and add accounts needed. So there was a legacy meeting with George Strong, Perry Drift, and Heather Darby from the state. They reviewed current programs and what still needed to be completed as a 6/30/22. Accounting department meeting, EPA meeting, ENP meeting with the agency, the quarterly update, and the accounting and staff meetings. They prepared a quarterly indirect cost entry and monthly ASAP and PMSA draws, finance meeting for Boys and Girls Club, staff accounting, accounting meeting, JVs for ACH payments received on the bank statements. We get most of our money through ACH, and that includes all the health payment, a large number of the health payments from insurance too. Staff meeting. So they had Bluestone interview for HHS, Bluestone HHS grant listing for feasibility study, compiled filing of JV backlogs and pulling back up from Edith's JVs she had entered, bank reconciliation, outstanding items. We pulled up some backup that for some deposits that were missed, recorded Epic revenue, recorded pharmacy deposits. So that's what the program accountants worked on. And then my report is, so we had one program resign during the month of May, and we had an accounting clerk give notice. Large projects worked on was completed the year-end report for US Treasury for ARPA funds after the meeting with Treasury staff for clarification and correction of a reporting issue. Submitted trial balance and general ledger for the auditors for the 2020 audit, started submitting various requested work. Papers for documentation. I did the financial statements for the land purchase because they had to do their due diligence for that. Comparative trial balances for the clinic to Bluestone for feasibility study. Completed BIA end of year funding requests. There was 41 different requests for a total of $5,634,867.73. And they were for 477 workforce development, education, forestry, natural resources, public safety and justice, real estate, and aid to tribal government. We had to do what's called an affidavit of ownership for the Ruth Isham House to prove that we owned it to the state. That was for that OEO grant through the state, and do that. So we had to do some recreating of some documents because most of the documents were destroyed in the fire. Meetings, we had a demo on eCivis system for software grant management. Laserfish, we need to work on the design support cost. We did clear that up last week. Bluestone meeting, phase 2 project list with tribal council. Whitflea meetings to set up and get caught up on accounts receivable. We had 5 meetings during that time. We had 2 staff meetings. ARPA report issue with US Treasury, had some difficulty on a drop-down box to enter data. The meeting with the representative from Treasury had some additional tips, clarification on some reporting changes for periods and timing of reporting of lost revenue. So I worked with the Treasury and we did the lost revenue calculation for fiscal year 2020. It was $12,355,420. And for 21, it was $7,572,923. I sat in on 4 NTI grant application cures meetings. We had a senior management meeting, Bluestone compensation study, We had an introduction meeting and a director interview. Been working on the 105L lease appraisals for a meeting because it's expanded. And Randy and I are trying to get several buildings. Space costs money. State, I've been working on the State Small Business Creditive Initiative Collaborative. We've had 3 meetings, and that's been with IRRRD, 3 other bands, and private foundations and a consultant. We had an ARPA meeting. We interviewed. I sat in on an interview for a different department. We had a Turk meeting. We've had a meeting on setting up credit cards. Meeting with Sarah Van Norman and others on the RTC building. Meeting with Northspan. This was outside of the state small business meetings, but that's all for the business loan program. Meeting on details of the land purchase funding, Laserfish onboarding meetings, because the company that is our consultants merged with another company. We had an emergency meeting on the dam. Technical assistant meeting for renewable energy, and Bluestone meeting for financial data for feasibility studies. So I wanted to put out a reminder to the state of Minnesota homeowners assistant fund is open. It's known as the Home Help MN is open. It was originally, their application period was from May 17th to June 17th. They have now extended the deadline to August for this, but there can help up to $35,000 in assistance to anyone in the state of Minnesota that's a homeowner, is in delinquent and meets the income guidelines. So it can be for people on and off the reservation, natives and non-natives. So Boys Fort HAF program was not approved at the time I wrote this memo. And there was only 50 to 70 programs that have been approved. Our initial program got approved at the late last week. And now we have to design our intake forms in the Laserfish process, Laserfish online intake and data collection, because there's an extreme amount of data that needs to be collected for that program. So we have lots of stuff going on. So questions?
Any questions for Kim?
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just said any questions for Kim?
Oh, I did. Kim, could we explain the lost revenue to the general public so they understand that $12 million and $7 million?
Okay. So when we got our allocation for U.S. Treasury funds, we got roughly 28 million. And there are restrictions on what you can spend that money for. And one of the categories is what's called lost revenue. And so that's just revenue, and you do an estimate of what the tribe and all its entities lost for that year. And that can be used in a more unrestricted category when we're planning out our ARPA funds for government type functions. And
So
that's
basic, Kim, it's basically lost revenue from the pandemic.
Yep, it's between, because we started with a baseline year, which was our fiscal year 2019, and then you get an inflation factor, or a growth rate, not an inflation factor, and then you compare what you actually took in. So that's, we kind of they have a specific name for that revenue after the growth. And you compare the two, and that's what you figure you lost due to the impacts of the pandemic. So that amount of money can be used in the more unrestricted category. It doesn't have to be used on administration, infrastructure, premium pay, or economic or health impact areas. So it's basically now, by that calculation, we have about 20 million that can fall into the lost revenue category but it still has to be for a government service type program. And you, the council has known this because as we do things, because we kind of vet it through with Jeff on if it is a government function or not, to put it in that category.
Thank you. The other, I had one more real quick. Could you do a little bit explaining about the number 6 on your thing, the Ruth Isham house? A brief explanation on that.
Okay, so the Ruth Isham house sat just about where the RTC, you know, on the corner here where the RTC building was built back in, we started that process back in 2009. It was Ruth's house and she had passed away, and that house was conveyed to her, one of her
To
living
Jeffrey.
heirs. And we wanted the site to build our new building. So we bought that house and then they moved it, they put it on blocks, and it is sitting out in Palmquist, and it was going to be either used as a housing house and stuff like that. But then Pam got a grant for emergency homeless shelter, and she got money to rehab that house and add on and place it to have emergency shelter location on the Net Lake sector for that. But to get the grant, we had to prove ownership of the house. Well, we didn't have any ownership because there was
Fire.
yeah, there's no lease, there's no fight, you know, the fire destroyed the records. So we had to go through and kind of give that history. You know, Ruth had the house, it was, you know, we bought it, and it's been sitting there. You know, we had to provide documentation, and the state accepted that.
Okay. Thank you again.
Mhm.
That was it from me.
Okay.
Very detailed report, Kim. Thank you very much. Good job.
That's excellent.
Next, for the department update, we have the Department of Natural Resources. And I believe Deanna Drift is sitting in for Chris Holm, correct? Oh, I'm sorry, Chris is there. I'm sorry.
Chris is here. Deanna is also there to do some leasing transactions with you when it gets to be her turn. She's just signed in under my link.
Good morning, Chris. Morning, Deanna.
Morning. So, yeah, that was what I'll try. And we got updates from
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you're underwater, Chris. Oh, there he is.
Sounds like he's singing.
He's froze. He's frozen.
Must be our high-speed internet we have.
Oh. Chris, we're having trouble with your audio. No. Chris, we can't hear you.
Chris, maybe try to turn off your video. That might help.
And finally me. Can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
Try now, Chris.
Does that help?
That helps. Yes.
Okay,
Go ahead, Chris.
okay. Can you, all right, this is, I had to turn off my speaker on this side, so I'm gonna have to like hold the phone up to my ear to talk to you.
Okay,
So I can't put video on. Can you hear me okay?
yep, that's fine.
Are we good now?
Yes,
Hello? Okay.
yes.
So we've got, okay, so here we go. We have reports from environmental, forestry, conservation enforcement, water quality, realty, and then me. There's lots of detail and backstory to all of these things, but I'll just run through the program highlights and then ask me questions if you want to along the way. Environmental. Environmental Services Manager is currently coordinating the 22 community cleanup that was awarded through procurement policy procedures to DSK Home Preservation again this year. And they are following the collection schedule. They're in Net Lake for the rest of this week and then moving on to Palmquist and Highway 65. That process seems to be going good. Frank is still working with coordinating with EPA to arrange the the underground storage tank pulls at the sawmill for such a simple project. EPA has turned it into a real convoluted kind of thing, and they need oversight and special people certified on board to do it. So that's taken a little longer than we thought. That should be done here probably end of June, beginning of July, we hope. We are working, Frank and I are working on associated documents that go along with the blight ordinance, so we can get that moving by the end of June. And we already have arrangements with a person that Frank has used before for junk car removals, and that's in the process of being set up right now. Let's see, right now Frank is by himself on the routes, the curbside, until that transitions to Public Works. We are thinking middle of June at this point. And that, of course, that transfer will be good. It'll put solid waste under the utilities program at Public Works. It creates something of a restructuring with EPA on my side here. So I've been talking with and working with EPA to restructure Frank's program so we don't lose funding. Because the solid waste program has been basically baked into that program, into EPA for like 20 something years. So we have to unravel that, find other projects and programs that Frank can work on and transition him into other things. And there's plenty of other things. So that's an ongoing discussion that we're having with EPA at this point. Let's see, forestry. Lance's crew is managing 6 timber sales currently. They recently submitted shape files for 800 acres of hazard fuel reduction, and that's a very significant increase over last year. Lance is on his way to a fire assignment in Arizona today. They all attended Wildland Fire Academy training last week. Kent and Dylan are expected to be assigned today or put on the national wait list for fire. And Brady and Cody are planning to head out when Lance gets back from Arizona in a couple of weeks. All told, he expects to send his folks to on 6 to 8 assignments this year. They have plans to contract out 120 acres of brushing and 150 acres of stand improvement work for the upcoming. He has one major facility project underway, which is the roof repair out at his forestry building. He had ice dam buildup, water damage, and roof damage out there. So that place is it's kind of torn up at the moment. Insurance has been, he's accounting and Lance have worked with insurance to get some coverage on that. I think you need some more damage assessment, repair estimates done on that. The CFI, Continuous Forest Inventory Project, is halfway complete. And they're looking at upgrading equipment to increase fire capabilities. They knew they were getting a new engine truck, I think today, to replace the burned out one that happened on a fire, a year ago or so. And possibly a new dozer and transport truck, and they're rotating fleet trucks per predetermined mileage according to what BIA says. They got funding to hire a fuel specialist full-time. They'll be submitting invoices totaling $180,000 for expenses accrued to BIA for 2019, and about half of that is already in the pipeline back here. Lance has been working to complete the transition of elderly firewood procurement program over to Denell and E&P. She will be coordinating member requests and deliveries with assist from forestry as necessary. And when we get the management plans and inventory information back for the new acquired lands from the conservation funds, we can start to review inventories in preparation for next steps for the carbon credits program. So that's forestry. Conservation. Tony and I wrote a grant
We're losing you again, Doc.
DNR, which is no child left inside for kids to do outside activities. He had his initial meeting with his Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Did you catch all the forestry?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move on to conservation. Okay. You caught all the forestry stuff I just said?
Yes, we did.
Okay, conservation. We got a small grant for $12,000 for Boys Fort Youth Outdoors program here from the Minnesota State DNR. It's a pretty cool program for Boys Fort Youth to do outside activities, and Tony's already had his initial meetings with his support folks here and other programs who are going to help out with that. Domestic animal calls in May, there was a total of 15. Vermilion is 95% of them, and they're from Farm Road. There was one call in June from Vermilion, 7 calls in May from Net Lake, which is actually a decline, mostly from the Pineview area. Bear calls, increased incidents, 2 to 3 calls per day in May, 3 calls per day in June. 2 bears trapped in May, 2 bears trapped in June. Over the course of the last year to date, a total of 19 bears have been trapped and released from here. Yeah. So that's an issue which I'll talk about when I get to my part. CO reports, number of moose up substantially since 21. 38 identified this year in aerial survey by 1854, included 23 bulls, 9 cows, 2 calves. And it's up since 2021, which was 18 bulls, 7 cows, and 2 calves. There are 4,700 animals total counted in Northeast Minnesota this year, which is considered, and they're considering a stable population. It's the highest number of animals seen in the past 5 years of monitoring. The deer population reports are fluctuating. We need some more survey, better information on that. It has to do with the natural seasonal movement, possibly wolf population influences. Although 1854 didn't report seeing any wolves when they did the aerial flyovers. So that's a question mark, needs some more work. Rough grouse, 3 to 5 drums per square mile, which is pretty good. Population, hatch, survival, and size is going to depend on weather conditions and how wet or dry it stays here. Considerable numbers increases in theft of natural resource related products. Birch poles seem to be of most current interest. There's also been thefts reported from hunting shacks in or near reservation boundaries, from a band member logging company, and actually from Bois Forte departments, and those are all under investigation. With the law enforcement, with BIA law enforcement and the CO here. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. We've got an established, it's currently informal agreement with Contended Critters Animal Shelter in Ely. They've been taking our domestic animals. We've delivered 16 animals to the shelter to date. At some point, we're going to have to set up some kind of a contract agreement with them. They're just taking the animals now. I think they'll keep doing that as long as our numbers don't go through the roof. But Tony and I plan to work with Jeff to develop some kind of a contract agreement that we can have sort of ready for discussion with them when the time comes. And Tony's scheduled to leave to Artesia for his training on July 3rd. And we've set up mutual aid coverage by 1854 authority COs for that time period. I need to set up a follow-up meeting with Sunny and get some additional details set up for times and availabilities of the guys up here. Let's see. So we go to water quality. Guys have been busy, as you know, monitoring water levels and the dam and that issue out there. They've also spent some time on contract work. We do have equipment issues. Our harvesters are in good shape. They don't get as much heavy use, but we are going to be looking eventually at needing to upgrade the cookie cutter. The thing is over 20 years old. It has had some significant mechanical breakdowns. It's starting to cost us money. So we're looking at ways to generate funding to get a new harvester, and those things are now running about $550,000, up like 50% since we first bought the first one. Let's see. I mentioned the EPA water program revision, or I mentioned environmental program revisions with EPA, and we're also doing the same thing with EPA water. We've got an ambitious water program, but you know, we've had 2 federal cutbacks in funding, and we just don't have the people. So we're looking at restructuring EPA water as well as EPA environmental, and that's ongoing discussions with EPA. The rice program, of course, as you know, the inventory is now gone. We only got about 125 pounds in 2022. We just didn't get rice in here. And with all the high water we've got out there, in the cold conditions, we've got a real slow germination going on. It is coming up. Hopefully we'll get some really hot weather. Water levels are coming down really nicely now. And we should have some rice. It's just a question of whether it will hit maturity by the time the fall weather comes. We've got multiple contract vegetation removal jobs pending. We've got our work, of course. We've got Lake 14 contract cutting schedule coming up in August. We did the Michigan Audubon contract cutting at St. Clair Flats in May. We had equipment problems there, and we're under time constraints, so we're going back there. They want us to go back in September. We'll do that. And there's a tentative job out there with the Sault Ste. Marie tribe that also wants some cutting work done. So that's a promising program if we can, keep equipment going and have personnel to haul the stuff and do the work. Realty manager attended the grants training that Travis Vaki set up on 6/9. lease lot questions and issues, questions on process over the time period, May, June were 4 of those, successor and interest questions, 1, questions on loans, 3 of those, 2 land use permit questions, 2 looking at lease applications. It looks to me like there were 3 lease applications formalized during the reporting period. There are at least 4, maybe 5 ongoing lot leasing issues that are taking some time to resolve. And I'm trying to get direction from BIA for how to obtain a PIV for the realty manager so she can get into TAMS training. That's been a holdup. You have a private land donation request to the band on Elbow Lake that we're going to try to schedule with you if you want to go see the property and meet the landowner. We should probably do that sometime soon, since the person's been asking for some time for quite a while. Revised leasing policies, as discussed with you and Jeff, need to be advertised on the website for public comment period. We've got some right-of-way and driveway issues over in Vermillion that Public Works and Realty are working on. We've got shared driveways and that present bottlenecks sometimes for people to get in and out of their properties, and we're looking at possibly being able to add a few extra driveways so people can have their own driveway to get to their places there. That's realty in a nutshell. And then we'll back up to me, and a lot of sort of my stuff coincides with the other program stuff, but in terms of money and funding, right now we've got a total received and pending funding by my estimation of $2,544,319. A lot of that is end of year BIA funding requests, which we're waiting on. We've got the new EPA money was allocated at $525,000. That's a 2-year program that funds the environmental manager and the water quality manager salaries. There's very little left over to do anything with after that due to the budget cuts, but that's there. We just got the BIA Circle of Flight money in for lake restoration that totaled $89,500. We've got the Department of Justice CTAS grant out there pending. Doris wrote that for us. That totals $390,719. We should know something about that in September. And as I mentioned before, we've got the No Child Left Inside grant in-house that Tony's working with right now. That's $12,000. Updates on the dam. We're still coordinating the CO Army Corps response for dam failure and contingencies and road development. Corps is standing by. They will send folks out to work with us on fixing the access road with the culvert area. The road is sinking over. And I expect to know more about that the next day or two about when they can be here to work with us on that. The Rock Arch Dam project is continuing. Stantec, they're at the point where they're getting ready to send out contractor bids for construction. We're asking the COE colonel to work with the permitting people in Duluth, try to speed up that permitting process so we can get going on that, because we've got water coming down really nicely now. In fact, we're going to, and the berm for that matter. The idea with the berm is to build it to about 1278, 1277 elevation, which is equivalent to what the emergency spillway is. That will let us get water away from the front side of the dam and take the pressure off it. So things are looking up out there, and the head walls have held, and it's looking like we could still get there yet this year. So as long as water levels don't come back up. Through ARPA, and I'm working with Stantec right now with one of their solar renewable engineer persons, and to develop a feasibility report, cost estimate for the solar installs on the buildings up here and the electric vehicle charging stations. We had something going with a company previously, but that company backed out, and so now we're trying this approach here. The Huber Wood project, you've heard a little bit about that. There's some evolving, interesting sort of legal issues with that Jeff and I will want to talk to you about privately. Some opportunity to get involved in assist Leech Lake and their issues with this strand board plant, production plant development near their reservation. I mentioned the blight code implementation, that's in the works. Land use planning and zoning, you had asked about that. We're just sort of waiting on some PDF editor licenses that we can dump existing land, zoning plans into and do some editing on. I developed a number of environmental assessments for various programs and departments who needed those for grants. I did those. I think I need to let folks know not to tell me like two or 3 days or a week ahead of time, because they take some time, especially if a phase 1 contaminant survey EA is required. That requires data searches, and that's a pretty complex document. They take some time to do, but the ones that were requested were done and went out with the grants. Let's see. Mentioned mutual aid coverage. Participated in Dee Dee's Realty LUP site reviews as requested. The DNR building. I'm still looking for past planning documents for the building, but we've settled on a site. And I've got a meeting with Bluestone actually after this meeting to talk about the POC projects list, and I'll talk to them more about getting something rolling on that. Coordinating discussion with the Minnesota State DNR on jurisdictional issues and bear sanctuary related bear issues. I think I sent you guys a copy of email that I sent to Shelley Patton regarding the bear sanctuary and the jurisdictional issues. And she was looking for dates to get back to you with to have those meetings. Conservation codes are being revised. Jeff and his crew are working on some editing of the existing codes to incorporate new information, new policies. And we're pretty confident we can roll out those by September, which would coincide with the hire of the second conservation officer. We'll post for that position soon, but right now we have to wait for new money to come into that program to hire the second conservation officer, because the officer that left had used half of that salary. So we need to replenish that. Let's see. Okay, we mentioned redefining EPA gap and water programs, and posting the conservation officer, and I'll also be posting the ecological resources manager job description soon as well. That's a real fast summary of some things going on here. If you have any questions.
Any questions for Doc? Okay, all right. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we should have the report from education. However, I don't see Travis or Christine Lundamo on. So we will skip that. I'm sorry. The next one is the Duluth Urban
Okay,
with Wendy Tripp.
I think she's in a waiting room.
Okay, next is Wendy and then Christine.
okay. Morning, Wendy.
Good morning. How's my volume? Okay. So my monthly report includes all of May, and it's going to be the number of band members served and the services and referrals provided. The number of band members served was 49 for the month, but this only includes the number of band members, not the number of contacts, because some of them contact me several times a day through text, Facebook message. So the number of contacts is a lot more than that number. And when I talk about application assistance, you're going to hear that kind of frequently in this report. That includes everything from kind of explaining what a program is, helping them apply, and then doing follow-up with them to make sure that they're getting the resources that they're requesting. So I'm gonna list just kind of the services and the referrals in no particular order. And I'll give just some small examples here and there. One of the first ones is helping a band member that's experiencing homelessness apply for veterans benefits. And sometimes it takes a while, like this one particular band member I'm thinking about, it took us about 3 years to get him services. Just because when you're homeless, sometimes you don't have an address, you lose your phone, you miss some phone calls, and you have to reapply. So some things can take quite some time. Also, referrals to the Veterans Hospital or clinic here in Superior, the one in St. Cloud. I did 3 tribal IDs, 4 food shelf referrals. I also did some elder food shelf transport, picking them up and then having them get their food shelf and then bringing them home. I did 3 bus pass referrals, will assistance for an elder, just locating a will, kind of helping them read through the will and then making the referral to legal aid. Helping people apply for the community services block grant that was 4 band members. 2 elderly needs applications. 3 purchasing birth certificates for band members going to the courthouse. That's kind of the first step in the process of getting someone a photo ID. So that's pretty important. Just the usual printing, faxing. I helped 2 people apply for the WIA assistance program for vehicle repair. I issued 4 state park passes. I had 4 shelter referrals, which includes the single men's shelter, women and family, and then the regular day chum shelter, which most people use. I did 2 elder medical emergency and dental emergency transports. One was out to Fond du Lac, one was here in Superior. purchase referred care application assistance to get on medical and dental. I did 3 of those. I located medical supply equipment for 2 elders and then 1 disabled band member who's not an elder, but they are disabled. So I went located equipment and then delivered that to them just because they had no transportation. I had a SUDS treatment referral for one of our band members that was experiencing homeless and got them into treatment, and they're doing well now. I assisted a band member in finding out how to apply for guardianship for her adult son, and then made also another referral to the legal aid. I helped a person apply for a missing person report, and then referred them for services for their own grief and, you know, finding their missing person. I helped 2 band members apply for the Eagle Feather application, which is kind of a long process and a long wait for that. I had 2 utility assistant referrals, a gas voucher referral, which the Damiano Center does have a program and they only issue 5 per month though. And that's open to anyone. I assisted an elder who was in a medical crisis. Some of the information that was sensitive, so I'll keep that out of here. I provided stamps and envelopes to snail mail applications and address updates. We got another round of a diaper and wipe donation, so we have that going on right now. Other outside contacts are with like HRA for Section 8 vouchers, elder housing, low income housing. Trying to locate housing for elders and people on Section 8. And then contacting their housing case managers if they have one. I communicate frequently with the street outreach worker just for services and locating people. So for the upcoming events we have, we're trying to get a language class going with Jalen, but I've had a hard time finding someone that feels comfortable enough to teach with him, but I think I found someone that's interested. That was gonna be this month. I don't know if we'll get that going or not. We have another band member that's gonna be doing a cultural teaching and how to properly harvest cedar. We're working on the details for that. KBFT is sponsoring a music event. That's gonna be, I think, July 15th, if we can get the location secured. And then our annual picnic, in lieu of our annual picnic, we're going on a Vista cruise on Friday, July 29th. It's in the evening from 4:30 to 6:30. And I'm also trying to update resources because those change frequently. I think that's about it for me. I know it's a lot. We do a lot of just different things.
Good report, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy? Okay, great. Thanks.
I did.
Go ahead.
What's the passengers on that cruise? I mean, what's the number of passengers you're allowed to take?
The boat holds 225 and we have it dinner seating for 125.
And how many do you usually get at your urban office picnic?
We've only had 2 picnics just because the first 2 years and then the last 2 years we were in the pandemic. So I think the first one we had was like 90 and then the last one we had was 115.
So that should cover it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I was wondering. Thank you. And
Yep,
it is,
you're welcome.
it's a great report. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. I'd like to request that Joel Astleford go next with his report. He does have another meeting at 11. So is that okay if Joel reports
Yeah.
next?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll go to Christine after Joel. Is Joel on?
Okay. He's coming.
We are ready for your report, Joel.
Sorry about that. So thank you, Miranda, for putting me ahead. For Public Works, we just had our usual daily checks on water and sewer plants, and we did a lot of work on RTC vehicles, cleaning and maintaining of the buildings from our maintenance staff, transit routes. Actually, Big Woods has been extremely busy lately, so has the maintenance. We're getting our trucks ready for the summer haul season, which we've pretty much already started. We've been brushing on the back roads. We started on Marshall Tower, where we left off last year, and we'll keep going on through West Boundary. We replaced piping and the check valves at T3 Tibbetts Trail Lift Station in Vermillion. We repaired parking lot at the C-Store. We're in the process of repairing flooded back roads. We've had a lot of roads go out with the flooding, and just FYI, Kathy and Jenna had me turn something into FEMA to possibly get reimbursement for that. Been working with Highway 65 bidders. Hawkinson out of Grand Rapids got the bid for Highway 65. And right now I'm out at the getting a gravel pit ready where it's been logged, working with them. They will start, probably going to start clearing the shoulders. I'm guessing in the next 2 weeks. They'll start making gravel probably the 1st of July, and they'll start paving Highway 65 the first part of August. The plan right now is to do the reservation end first, so we get it out of the way. And hopefully that would be wrapped up by the end of August, just the reservation side. So our pit that we're selling gravel out of will be right in the middle of the project, be 20 miles south and 20 miles north. So we ordered 6-person wheelchair bus for Big Woods. That should be coming in the next 3-4 months. Maintenance staff is set up for numerous events with the powwows and everything else. Give a heads up to those guys. We started grading the back roads. We've been working on the Net River Road. We did some brushing there a couple weeks ago. Now we're going to haul some sharp riprap in and try and fill in a lot of the soft spots. And then we're going to overlay that. We do have a garbage truck driver starting the 21st of June. And once that person is in place, you will start seeing information coming out, hopefully get some door-to-door stuff going on how the whole program will work. There will be, everybody is going to get 195-gallon garbage cart on wheels, and there'll be instructions with where to put it and everything else. So we'll do some public information on that when we get to that. let's see. I'm going to work with the grant people to extend the completion date of the Vermillion Maintenance Garage from 12/31/23 to 12/31/24 because of supply chain issues and just the fact that we're 6 months behind and being awarded. So we'll have to get an extension on that. That's kind of about it. We do have a Tibbetts Trail project coming up, which will probably be in late summer. We're going to fix the drainage right before the county road, and we will be milling at full depth and resurfacing it. That's about it.
Okay. Any questions for Joel? Okay, thanks, Joel. Good report.
Thank you.
Miigwech.
Hey, Kath,
Yes,
I just had one question for Joel.
okay.
Hey, Joel, I took a ride last week out on the roads there, and are you guys going to be doing any grading out there on some of those old roads back there, like the Tote Road and West Boundary in that area?
Yeah, West Boundary has been washed out 3 different times, so we're letting the water level go down. On Friday, I graded 7 miles of Wood Duck Road, and as soon as we get 2 spots on Lumbar and Marshall Tower repaired, those will be graded also.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just wondering. I know that when I took a ride out there was a couple of spots that were kind of rough, like ruddy and stuff like that. So. Okay, that's all I had.
Thanks, Joel.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you, Joel. Up next will be the Education Department update, and that will be given by Christine Lundemo.
Good morning.
morning, Christine.
Okay, for education, they're continuing to work on some grants and getting our summer youth workers on board with us this month. We are also very close to the finish line for the submission of the 477 plan. We are waiting on the scoring of that job description, and then they'll get the job posted for the 477 director. Scholarships, they're getting a few in for the summer, but summer help, but mainly are completing up for this school year. We will have more of a report on that before fall. Leanne is also working on the WIA program and spending down those funds through help with training and hiring summer youth workers. CSBG registrar, continuing to work to get band members qualified for the programs. CSBG ends this month and the new year starts July 1st. Energy assistance for this year is completed, and we will post when applications for the next year are available in August or September. Tabs and registration still run through Tracy. MnDOT training is this week at the Net Lake School. This is an awesome opportunity for Boys Fort, and it is going well. It will wrap up tomorrow with a small graduation ceremony at the Government Center. I would like to thank Warren for his hard work, helping Travis to get this training all set up and recruiting band members for the training. We have been asked to showcase this training at the national conference in August, which Travis is very excited about. Boys and Girls Club summer programming is going strong. Please encourage all youth to come and attend. We are excited to hire some new staff members at both sites, and our program administrator position is currently posted, and we encourage all to apply. As far as for Head Start, early Head Start, the Head Start summer enrichment program in Net Lake is going well. We are averaging about 6 to 7 kids a day. Early Head Start is going well. We are finally fully enrolled with 30 infant and toddlers between both sites. We have a field trip coming up June 23rd at the Duluth Aquarium. And I guess I have a question. Are we still allowing employees to attend family engagement activities? I have a couple parents that have asked if I could ask if they could be excused to attend. So I'll be following up on that, probably with Regina, to put a formal request in on that. The management team is attending the National Indian Head Start Directors Association Conference in Portland, Oregon, the last week of June. Vonda just finished up working on the CCDF portion of the 477 project, and she did a great job. So I'm really happy about that. And then Vonda and I started working with Bluestone on expanding childcare and the bus garages. Finally, we'd like to welcome Carol Burr joining the team, and Travis is looking forward with working with her and getting her up to speed on tarot grants, etc. That's my report for Travis.
Thanks, Christine. Any questions for Christine?
Guys, I have a couple. Yeah, how many, Christine, how many youth workers are we planning to employ this year?
I believe they said 4 at each site.
4 at each site? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Then as far as the parents going with you on the trip, I'd be agreeable to that. So I know that the parents would enjoy that, with being with their little ones, to attend that. So I would be agreeable to that question that you asked. So, but yeah, good report. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you, Christine. Next, we will have Damon Day with the Emergency Preparedness Department report.
Good morning, council members, Madam Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes, we can, Damon.
Okay. On June 27th, the emergency communication systems will be here to service our siren alert systems and replace the batteries in all of our sirens. And we're also looking at 3 possible spots for additional siren alert towers. Vermilion definitely could use 2 more up there. I've heard from some residents, elder residents up there, that with the part of the reservation they can't hear the 1 siren alert up there. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Christine. You're not muted. Thank you. Okay. And where was I? And also to put 1 more siren alert out at the Four Corners area. So those are the 3 possible sites. I've been in close contact with Mr. Dave Olmsted. He's a special events coordinator for Homeland Security and Emergency Management. He's been checking in. I've been checking in with him, updating him about the water level up here, about the dam. I've been attending the MNVOAD, MNVOAD. It's a Minnesota voluntary organization active in disasters. It has like a Red Cross and Salvation Army and all of them that are up there working up in around the Rainy Lake Basin for all the flooding. I sit in on them meetings and listen in on updates and the flooding situations around the Rainy Lake area. So that. I've been in close contact with Mr. John Moore from the National Weather Service out of Duluth. Mr. Moore also sits on the Region 2 Emergency Management Team. He's been pretty good about sending the team weather updates, which I send out to our employees for a heads up on traveling. I know some employees have to travel a little more than an hour to get back and forth from work here. So some of the employees, I got feedback from a few employees, and he said, keep up the good work on the updates for weather situations. So that's going good. Since we had an anti-vaxxer call to our Vermilion Clinic a little week or so ago, I contacted BIA Chief Burdick. The call was not a threat. I mean, I contacted Mr. Burdick and asked him about the report of the a threat to, and he stated that there was no threats involved. So, but it was a anti-vaxxer, had some statements to say about vaccines and stuff like that. I reached out to Mr. Olmsted, who I mentioned earlier, and he'll be helping me set up lockdown safety drills for all of our public and tribal government buildings. He'll be here on the morning of June 17th, this Friday. Actually, we're gonna have a late breakfast meeting, I believe, at Patton's on Friday morning, so to discuss some of the trainings and options we have for lockdown and for the school, the health building, government building. Mr. Nicholas Brascato from FEMA Region 5, he shared the floodplain maps for Itasca, Coochin County, and St. Louis County. If anyone's interested, they can contact me here at the government building, and I'd be happy to share these maps with anyone, public, fellow coworkers, fellow directors, whoever. So I'm also working with Doris Isham on a grant to help with funding to update our multi-hazard mitigation plan for Boys Fort. This needs to be updated every 5 years and is due in 2023. We got denied our technical assistance grant me and Doris had put in to get funds to update our mitigation plan. So she's starting to work on a grant, a brick grant through FEMA, also Region 5, for funding to update this mitigation plan. So other than that, that's pretty easy, quick spiel on emergency management. Any questions?
Any questions for Damon? Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
Dame. Good
I had
report.
a
Go ahead,
question
Dave.
for Dame. Hey, Dame, on those sirens now, is that what the problem is? Is the batteries? That
Yeah.
Okay, that's the only thing, because I know that last summer when they went off, you'd just get half a message, and then they would kind of sound like a record what's playing on slow. Like the guy would start out giving his information, but then would just start kind of slowing down, like, and then would just cut out. So that was the problem.
Yeah, the batteries are, I think they're made to last like 4 years. Okay. And these are well over 4 years old now. Yeah.
And what about, do you think that we'd have to maybe put one down kind of in Pineview area, where the new houses are on the east side of the Pineview, because that's quite a ways from the where the sirens at now, but up by the by the clinic there? Do you think that we'd need one maybe down in that area so those people could hear it there? Or what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good idea. It'd be good to have one there.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering because like I said, them guys are quite a way, and there's a lot of little ones that live down there with kids, and a lot of people with a lot of little kids, and and I don't know if they'd hear that warning or not. So. But anyway, just a thought anyway. So, but thanks, Dave. Good report.
Yep. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Damon.
Yep.
Thank you, Damon.
Yep.
Up next, we have the Department of Health and Human Services report by Lynette Tattman.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Excuse me, Miranda? Christina has her hand up. Christine. I'm just relaying a message.
Thanks, Chief. Quick question. I just wanted to follow up with Dave's question about the Boys and Girls Club workers. I heard back from Travis and he said that they're hoping to hire about 12 total workers. And 3 usually work at each Boys and Girls Club site. So then that would be 6 working throughout the different departments. So just wanted to let you know.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's I'm glad we're hiring more of the summer youth. So.
Yep.
Thank you for that follow-up, Christine. Go ahead, Lynette.
So I don't have all my reports in yet. I did talk with Robbie last week before last in regards to we're having some issues with our reporting in Epic. I just don't have time to run the reports right now, but I will present what we have going on. For the business office, our patient counts are up by 13 from April to May. We have seen a drop in patient counts this last probably 2-3 weeks, and we're not sure why. We did start the chronic care program at both facilities now to hope alleviate and try to get patients back in to the facilities to take care of their health needs that they do have. We have some chronic care patients that we have not seen since the pandemic started. So they are starting to do recall letters and phone calls to get the patients back in to get taken care of. The AR is sitting at 31.5 days for the month of May, which is on average. During the peak of the pandemic, we were in the 40s because the health plans were not processing claims as fast as they normally have. And the amount of claims that were going through the health plans was an extremely large amount. There were 8 MA applications done for the month of May at both locations and 7 PRC applications that were completed at both locations. They are gearing up for open enrollment for PRC again, starting here this month. So announcements and notices will be going out. This is a program that has to be applied for every year in order to receive assistance for healthcare off reservation. The state of Minnesota is also gearing up for starting the revalidation, the come down from the federal pandemic. This means the clinics, the patient benefit coordinators could get hammered with revalidation requests or terminations of health insurance through the state. They are not sure how it's going to go yet because it's never been done before. Once they flip the switch at the state systems, everybody could get terminated and everybody could be just fine. They don't know how it's going to go. They're assuming everything's going to go as normal once they turn the system back on to start the revalidation processes for MA. Our pharmacy numbers for the month of May, it looks like NetLake has done 636 new scripts and 886 refills. The Vermilion Pharmacy has done 622 new prescriptions and 807 refills. This is on average about what we've been running for the last 3 years since the Vermilion Pharmacy has opened up. We are switching formularies. It'll help to save costs, but that plan isn't in place yet because we have to get some contracts signed with our pharmacy contractors. Let's see, the biggest big thing that we do have going on 6/24, the farmers market in Net Lake will be open from 10 to 2 across from the Net Lake store. This will be monthly on every 4th Friday of the month. If anybody has questions on that, they can reach out to, I believe it's Jill Schuchard or Terry Morrison will be able to help. Food distribution participation is about 37 a month, which is about average since the pandemic started. They did get their new walk-in freezer fully installed back in end of March. It got completed. And then the 2 garage doors here in Net Lake got fixed. There is a new walk-in refrigerator freezer being installed up at the Vermilion Center for the programs up there. As long as there's no issues, it should be back up and running probably next week, I think is what the contractor said. But as everybody knows, contractors have their own issues with getting parts and stuff, but this is a freezer refrigerator that they ordered last year and it just came in. So it's just things take a long time. For HHS as a whole, we did have our second site visit with Bluestone for the HHS feasibility study. We have, I believe they will be coming on site one more time. In the meantime, we are working on putting together a large community health survey. This will be a survey for all patients that have been seen at HHS and residents within our community area. We'll hit as many individuals that live in our the purchase referred delivery care area to get these surveys out to them via paper. It will also go out via SurveyMonkey, and we're going to be doing a drawing to try to get as much participation as we can. We'll be offering 2 gift cards in hopes to get as much input as we can. Along with the community health survey, we're also going to be doing an HHS staff survey. And this will be just for any staff that has that works for HHS to figure out what direction Health and Human Services needs to go next. We did renew the contract with the Native American Health Group. This is a compliance contract that we have in place where they're going to be they come in every quarter to do an audit of the compliance activities and the security activities for HHS. And that's all I got right now. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Lynette? Okay. Good report, Lynette. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. Up next will be Jalen Strong with the Heritage Center report.
Bonjour, can you hear me?
Bonjour.
I'm just gonna share my screen. It's not as I'll make it a little bit more detailed next time, but it's just kind of the bare bones, so something that I can talk about. So this is just like the Heritage Center's monthly report for May. I didn't really know too much what to put on there. So I just put the attendance for like the main thing. We had 129 people come through the museum, either through like the gift shop, through on tours, giving, people going through attendance wise. And we had, that was 82 more people than last year's. And then I think that was like 16 or 17 more people than 2019, like pre-pandemic era. So it seems like it's pretty slow. But I guess based on the numbers, at least it's been pretty well attended. The narrative for what's going on for the Heritage Center aspect of things, we're planning like the summer of our 20th anniversary. So for people that don't know, the Heritage Center opened to the public in June or July of 2002. And so this year, to commemorate the 20th anniversary, we're having a number of different projects and programming. So the first one is coming up on this Saturday, just kind of an open house type of thing. So people, just kind of free admissions for people that come through. We're going to be serving food. This is going to be from 11 to about 4 p.m., 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Most of it's going to be all outside. We're going to have a couple different programs, hopefully there to help us have different aspects to it. We're going to have like lacrosse here and hopefully be able to have a scavenger hunt within the museum itself. We're going to try to complete the HVAC project, or at least get everything ordered. We'll talk about that a little bit later on down the agenda. But that's basically to replace the entire HVAC unit here, and that's going to be coming through ARPA money. But we also have for people that may not know, we got a grant from IRRB to cover a portion of those costs. So hopefully by the end of this year or within the next year, at least, we'll have a new HVAC to kind of regulate the temperatures and the humidity within the museum here. So during the hot summer months, we can kind of keep it cool, and during the winter times, we can keep it a little bit more warmer. The Rosetta Stone project, I'm planning on having that done by the Lake Vermilion powwow. Basically, all that I need to do is create the sign-up sheet for people to actually go through and register. Either as a background, if people don't know, Mille Lacs created a 2-year, a first initial phase for their Rosetta Stone for the Ojibwe language program. The subscriptions are good for 2 years, and I think it's just a basic level. So through the council, we've been able to purchase a lot of these, about 1,000 of these subscriptions, and so anybody can sign up to do it. So if you've already paid for it, you can get reimbursed through the tribal government, and if you haven't paid for it but want to participate, you can sign up, and then I'll help administer and make sure people are using the program for the 2 years. And so it's free for band members. If they paid, they can get reimbursed. If they haven't paid, and they want to do it, we can buy it for them. And so we're just creating the sign up sheet now. And then the other portion that doesn't really necessarily involve the public is just the tracking system that we'll be using within Laserfiche, to make sure everyone's kind of moving on this completion path for the curriculum. I got to restart the language committee. We had like 1 or 2 meetings last year, and then it just kind of fell apart because I got kind of carried away. But I'm gonna restart that and hopefully get the word out and get more people involved, and have that as like a monthly meeting, so I can add this to the board within the department. Working on the Bluestone project sheets, that's been kind of interesting. Just the various projects that the council and not even senior management, just people within ARPA have created to kind of guide what we'd like to see. And this kind of stems from community surveys in the past, or what people have kind of said, and just writing 80% of a grant. And then once a grant pops up, then we can just basically plug and play. The biggest one the soonest one that's coming up is going to be next month. And I'm going to be reaching out to Christine to try to get like a language nest started for the daycare and Head Start. And so for people, if people don't know what a language nest is, basically it's a kind of an immersion type of program within the daycare and Head Start. And it doesn't really require very fluent speakers, just because at that level, you're kind of repeating stuff over and over, whether that's just yes or no, or, saying like little phrases like, don't play with that, or whatever the case may be, or whatever curriculum that they have. So we'll be working on that. And then through that, we can apply, it'll open other possibilities to either expand on the language through the language nests, or, possibly provide training for, other staff or faculty or staff who would want to increase their language proficiency and curriculum basis with that. But there's a letter of intent that's due in July, and then the actual grant itself is due in August. So we have some time yet. The last thing for the Heritage Center is working on the MIAC funding. So MIAC, Minnesota Indian Affairs Council, provides all 11 tribes with a set of funding that kind of comes from different taxes, like transportation, so like gas and other tax like that. And then they pool all that money together and send and split it up to tribes, and allow for different grants to be applied for. So for this upcoming year, I think it's somewhere like $60,000 or $80,000. And so we'll be working, Travis and I will be kind of working together with that to create a budget for that. And then we're also working on the spend down for fiscal year 22, because that ends at the end of the month. For TIPO, that's the other main portion. Eventually I'll kind of, once more language and culture stuff gets involved, I can kind of, I'll start splitting that up. So I'm gonna have Heritage Center, TIPO, and then language, culture. But for the TIPO, the Highway 65, with the Highway 65 project coming up, we do have funds for one tribal monitor, and we're going to be mainly monitoring in 3 areas of concern for potential effect to cultural properties. That one is kind of the end of West Boundary. There's a cultural site out there, like right on the West Boundary Road, or kind of within a half a mile of the West Boundary Road. I think that one actually might go all the way out to the cemetery out there. Then the spot across from the CC camps out by the forestry office. And then the last one is on Four Corners. It'll be pretty good pay, I would say, like 30 or $35 an hour or something like that. And it's only going to be for the duration of the project, whenever they're like kind of milling it up. So it'll be maybe about a week or two's worth of work, but it's still, good to be out there and get some experience, so that next time we have a longer project, then we can push for those travel monitors that we've used in the past to do that. Next thing we're working on is drone research. I'd like to purchase a drone at some point, basically used for mapping and survey, but also have other capabilities. And what we do is mapping for is if somebody has a general idea of where cultural properties are, like any sort of burial mounds, any sort of specific sites. If we find any kind of food storage places around like Little Fork River or around the lake, or even we can use a drone to kind of go up and map that using like LiDAR. And with LiDAR, it basically shoots like a bunch of different like laser beams, I guess you could say, at the ground, and kind of pinpoints the reflection. So it's kind of like sonar, but for the air. And you can remove the tree coverage and the leaves and stuff like that. So you don't have to do it in a specific, so that's sort of surveying during a specific time of year. And then it displays it all, and you can kind of isolate certain areas where you could see something like a burial mound without actually having to, dig it into it to be for sure on it. But you could see like the characteristics of it and make like 3D models for planning and just having that data for us. I think the biggest concerns right now is a lot of these files end up being pretty large, and I don't know what I would do or where I would store that. And then if we go third party, I don't know if they'll have access to use those that information by themselves. And I personally don't want the data that's mapped to be taken by or be used by other people other than for our personal use of it. So to help with that, but then you can use it for like to fly over certain areas where you might think might have like medicinal areas or that used for scouting, so that if we do like if there is another harvesting or foraging event, you don't have to walk the whole path. You can kind of fly the drone up and take a look around and see if that's a good area for people, and hopefully we can get more people out foraging for medicines and using some of like the beings that are out there for traditional usage. And then the last capability that we're hoping to use it for is it has one of the cameras that we're looking at purchasing has like a thermal imaging on there. So if anybody ever gets stuck out on the lake during ricing season or whatever the case may be, you can just fly the drone up, kind of circle it, go a quick run around the lake and be able to pinpoint them a little bit quicker and easier. And then hopefully it has the capabilities to bring a package or bring like a payload, I guess is what they call it. And you just drop off any supplies that they might need so that they're safer, I guess, while waiting for us to get out there. This next project is kind of like a meeting that we have with the Bureau of Land Management. So one thing we've been doing without funding from the BLM is going to check some of the islands out on Lake Vermilion. Basically, we do that and check these islands because they either have cultural or spiritual importance for the band, and we've found they've found different archaeological items and cultural items out on these islands. Some of them are pretty small, like some of them they almost look like a rock that you might hit. So it's kind of like, so they can be small. Other ones are pretty big and take a couple minutes to walk through. So we'll be meeting with them, and then we're going to work on being able to come up with a project to either put signs up that or replace signs that are currently there, talking about like the history of Bois Fort, talking about like the care that you should have for the islands itself, and then maybe talking a little bit about like a little fact of Bois Fort or something along those lines. But that's something that we're going to be working on within the next year or so. And then the last thing is kind of renewing the TIPO grant, and that's another one that's, I don't quite understand how it works, but basically they appropriate funds to a set amount of tribes, depending on like need and land base, I think. And then we apply for the grant, but for that specific amount. And I don't really have the exact amount on the top of my head, but it's somewhere around like 80,000 or 86,000. So it's quite a bit of money. It's been going up in the last number of years. So we'll be applying for that. Then events coming up, we're going to be the Heritage Center anniversary again. That's this Saturday, the 18th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to do an outdoor movie series, is what we're hoping to plan and it's going to go for 3 Saturdays. Starting at the end of the Saturday portion of the Lake Vermilion powwow. I think we're going to try to find a spot over by the powwow grounds to do it. And that the first one is going to be the good old classic Smoke Signals. And then I think for the other 2, we're going to be looking at different movies. One that I'd like to watch is called Blood Quantum. It's a horror film that takes place in like I think a Canadian reserve, but basically it's about like zombies, that a zombie apocalypse where like native blood is immune to it. And so it's kind of like about poking fun at the fact that, like, you know, blood quantum has historically been something that's been used to get rid of us. And now in this dystopian world, it's something that's going to save us. So that'll be kind of, I think I'll watch that. And if we're trying to keep it all family friendly. So I'm hoping that it's good, but we'll watch that. And then I think we got to find a third one that would be educational or just keeping it family friendly to make sure that everyone's good. And yeah, we're working with Kyle with that. And then the events that happened, we just had a couple of tours. I'll try to put these in there, but so we had a tour on the 5th. We had 10 people. One on the 20th that had 32 people. That was the Vermilion Country School, and they had 4 band members there. And then on the 25th, we had 50 people. That was Northwoods' 6th grade class. And then on the 26th, we had 15 people again. And I think that was one of the YMCA camps. But that's kind of it for the Heritage Center stuff. I know it's not as detailed as other departments, but I'll probably try to have a little bit more numbers on there. So like if we take any collections in, I'll probably put that on there. How much money I guess we've accounted for in the last month, I'll try to put that in there. And then maybe once like we get classes and stuff like that, I'll try to put that stuff in there as well. But that's kind of it for what I got.
Migwitz, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. Any questions for Jay? That zombie movie might be kind of scary for kids. Or some adults, I guess. I'm just kidding. So, okay. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you, Jalen. Janelle Gogolai is on leave, and she had arranged for Leela Goodsky to give her report, but I don't see Leela on the meeting just yet. Maybe she'll show up in a little bit. So I will go ahead and do the human resources.
She's on, I
report.
guess. Janelle's or Leela's on, I guess.
She's being promoted right now.
She's being promoted. Maybe she's
There she is. Are you ready to give the report, Leela? If you are muted.
Okay,
There
can
you
you
go.
hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah, you can hear
Morning.
me. Good morning. Okay, I don't really have much. I was hoping to see that report that was supposed to be turned in 5 days before the meeting, but I don't have that. But I'm going to go into start with low rent. We actually have a total of 47 units, and 12 of those are vacant. But we're working on getting Florine LaRock's unit. DBS is coming up on the 26th of July, and they were going to give us an estimate of what the repairs are going to cost, because that's a problem with the basement. And then we also met with Anderson.
Dave Anderson.
Dave Anderson, yes. And he's gonna go over a lot of our vacancies with us. And right now, we labeled or selected 10 units that we're gonna start working on. And him and Brian Moyer went last week over to the burn unit, the tax credit 1 burn unit. And because of the extensive 2-year wear and tear or weather that was added to the original fire damage, they said just to demolish it. So we're going to try and demolish that and then get another unit up in place, because that is a tax credit 1 project. And tax credit 2, we have 3 vacancies. Well, the burnt unit counts as 1, but then there's only 2 other vacancies in that program. Tax credit 2, we have 2 vacancies, and 1 vacancy was caused by a car hitting the building, which we need to have somebody check that out. Tax credit 3, we have 3 vacancies. But tax credit 3 now, we did start inspecting those units again. Cheryl's got them all done. She's scheduled them. And some people wanted to cancel and say, come for another date, but we can't do that because we need to get these inspections back in place. And then Cedar Grove, we have 1 vacancy there. Cheryl's been really great in getting these units filled. We have 1 unit vacant at the senior assisted living. Now that takes care of our, Cheryl has had 3 move-ins. We've had no move-outs. We've had a total of 20 work orders for the month of May. And according to what's on the system, we had 5 completed, but what happens is a lot of times they do the work orders, but they don't get them back to us so we can put it into the system. So they are doing it. They got a lot of work. And that, I think, is about it. Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Leela.
it.
All
Yep.
right. Good job.
Thank you.
Any questions for Leela?
That 1 unit with the car that went through it, where's the insurance on that unit?
Well, the insurance is a form that has to be turned into the insurance company, and it has to be done within the first 6 months, I think, and which never happened. So we may have to eat that up ourselves. We don't know yet. Janelle's been working on that, trying to see what Amarin does with it.
Okay.
So we're still working on that.
Good. Thanks, Leila.
You're
Any other
welcome.
questions? Good report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leila.
Welcome.
Next, I will give the report for human resources. And I was hoping to be the shortest report, but I don't think I'll be shorter than Leila's report. There are a number of committees and boards within the Human Resources Department that our staff sits on. Some of them are the Menochi-Guyang Committee, that's the Employee Morale Committee. We also send out an employee newsletter, senior management, the Turk Committee, the PIO, which is the Public Information Office meeting, ARPA, the 477 core team, weekly updates with the council, as well as enrollment review committee. We haven't had a meeting for enrollment review. That happens quarterly if there are denials to enrollment. Miscellaneous data under tribal enrollment, we issued 47 tribal IDs, processed 6 burial fund applications, 2 miscellaneous burial fund applications. That's just the miscellaneous portion of the tribal or the burial fund. We released 10 trust funds and we issued 11 Minnesota State Park permits. With benefits, we processed 15 evaluations. There are currently 8 evaluations overdue. The HR specialist, we had 6 new hires. I do not have the termination data on this report. I will have it next time. We posted 12 jobs in May and we filled 8 of them. Brief narrative of what's going on within human resources. We are working on completing a compensation study with Bluestone. The approximate completion time frame they gave us would be 4 months. So we are hoping to have that in place before October 1st of this year. We began revising the personnel policy with a group of employees who volunteered with supervisor approval to sit on that committee. We're hoping to have that completed and approved by tribal council by October 1st of this year. And I am still completing contact tracing for Boys Fort COVID positive employees who do not live on the reservation. If they live on the reservation, that is done by our Health and Human Services Department. And we are also processing enrollment applications for the next quarterly enrollment next month. The events coming up, we have per capita coming up in August, and the address update deadline for per capita is July 31st. Right now, the payment amount and date, the payment amount is not determined. I believe the date is August. I'm not sure. I think I know it, but it's not coming to mind right now. Benefits we have for our employees, new employees, as well as current employees. We have 401k meetings with our financial advisor, Brian Marker. He is on site today and tomorrow in Nett Lake and Vermilion. We had an event to issue tribal IDs in Vermilion along with 1854, and we issued 28 tribal IDs at that event. And final couple of things, our tribal enrollment position was vacated. Elena Sherman resigned her position as of June 10th. We wish her all the best in her new position as the bar manager at Fortune Bay Resort Casino. The tribal enrollment coordinator position was posted, and we're hoping to have that filled soon. Until the position is filled, Cassandra Villebrin, our HR administrative assistant, will be processing address updates as well as issuing tribal IDs. I will be processing burial fund applications as well as enrollment applications. And the other human resources staff within the department will be assisting with tribal enrollment coordinator duties and responsibilities as needed. And finally, I get to introduce our new Planning and Community Development Director who started this past Monday. Carol Burr previously worked for us in the Housing Director position. She left and has returned, and so welcome back, Carol.
Welcome aboard, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Yep,
Do you have any
welcome back.
questions for me?
Any questions for Miranda? Plus, on top of her other duties, she is now acting executive until at least the 21st, so.
You're welcome. If there's no questions, next will be Randy Long with the Information Technology Department report.
Hello, everyone. I guess we'll start off by just going over IT's weekly meetings. Boys Fort IT currently meets every Monday morning between 8 and 8:30 a.m. These meetings are focused upon past week's projects that were not completed and address priority projects that need to be handled immediately. IT has recently decided to post for another IT engineer position that will work directly with Everett to support the overall network infrastructure for Boys Fort. We will be coming up with interview questions shortly and hope to have the position posted at some point next week. So moving on to existing projects, our ongoing fiber to the home project is still in its initial stage 1 and stage 2. CTC is going home to home, installing the necessary electronic with the boxes on every home. This involves the need of mounting an electronic box on the outside of every house. This will also involve the need for a technician to enter everyone's home to install a needed piece of conduit. For those individuals that we've not been able to run into, this can be done at a later point throughout the summer as well. Currently, Net Lake, Palmquist, and Indian Point are nearly completed. Vermilion has just started with an approximation of 1 month to complete this stage of the project. Lake State's construction has been contracted to do boring for the interduct needed for this project. The stage is currently ongoing in multiple locations and soon to be in Vermilion. This will involve the pulling of the fiber, we're moving on to stage 3 of the project. This will involve the pulling of the fiber through the interduct. We're expecting anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks for the fiber to show up and the start of the fiber to be pulled to begin. Stage 4 will involve the installation of the network equipment needed to manage the network. The equipment is currently on order and we will be installing following the installation of the fiber. Stage 5 of this project will involve the start up or lighting up of the fiber. We're expecting an early fall for the Net Lake, Palmquist, and Indian Point locations, followed by a late fall startup for Vermilion. Now, we're really still hoping for a completion of late fall. A lot of that depends on what we run into as far as rock for this project in Vermilion. We know we're going to run into a considerable amount of it, but we're still hopeful for a late fall completion date. The next project for IT would be the implementing of a new ticketing system for IT. IT will be implementing a new online ticketing system accessible through the Boys Fort website. All requests to IT from the tribal government staff will be required to use this system for requests for help, ordering supplies, etc. The company or the community that opts to join the Fiber to the Home project can also submit trouble tickets through this program for internet-based help. We're currently in the build stage of this project and hope to have this completed within 4 to 6 weeks. Next project, the EPIC Electronic Health Program updates. Throughout the entire month, IT has recently installed many EPIC Electronic Health Record Program updates that support the entire health division throughout the electronic health record system, involving X-ray integration to laboratory equipment integration, and overall just general program updates. Next project we're working on is we've recently joined Minutes, the State of Minnesota Technical Consortium. IT has recently opted to join with the State of Minnesota IT services to utilize their existing software for virus and malware detection. Installation of the software should commence probably within a 2 to 3 week time period. We're going to jump off to an awarded grant. We applied for an FCC telehealth grant. IT was successful in writing an FCC telehealth grant that will provide equipment and services needed for telehealth applications and programs for healthcare. Another grant that we applied for was $168,000 for U.S. Treasury funds. There's an existing shortfall in the Fiber to the Home project. This funding application will offset the funding shortfall of implementing the Boys Fort Fiber to the Home project. It will not cover the entire shortfall of our existing Fiber to the Home project, but will definitely reduce the amount we need to look for in completing this project. We also applied for Senator Smith earmark programs. Our priority was to request additional funding to make up for that shortfall in our existing Fiber to the Home projects. We've also applied for leftover BIA funding. One of the larger projects in our request to the BIA funding was to replace the existing PD telecom tower. Within the last handful of years, we've had the top 20 feet of that tower removed due to stress fractures on it. The existing guide wires are really limited on the adjustment right now. We really feel the tower is at end of life as it's probably pushing 50 some years old. If we do get the funding through the BIA, we hope to have this tower replaced and constructed yet this fall. There will be minimal downtime involved with this. We are expecting no more probably than a 2 to 3, probably a 2 to 3 day downtime though. We've recently applied to NTIA for a much larger fiber to the home project. We applied for 19.86 million to cover all of Lake Vermilion, all of Orr, all of Highway 23 out to the reservation. This project, let's see, will cover all adjacent property or locations to the reservation. Our hope of this project is to build up the surrounding communities, which in turn support the casino and its operations. We passed all qualifying rounds to date for this project, and we're awaiting their decision. We hope to hear back within 2 weeks. Next project, telephone lines. We are currently in the process of pulling all telephone circuits off of CenturyLink and Frontier and porting them to CTC Communications. This project is due to multiple phone circuit related issues for several months with poor response from the existing telephone providers. Once Bois Forte Fiber to the Home project is in place, we'll have the ability to provide phone service to homes as well. Porting of all existing circuits from CenturyLink and Frontier to CTC Communications will be an ongoing project throughout the summer. The project will reduce overall telecommunication costs for the tribal government and casino operations by an estimated 50%. Due to some past storms, we lost several battery backups within our IT network environment. Within the last 2 weeks, we've been able to successfully replace them and hopefully prepared for any upcoming storms this summer. Moving on to the 105L lease project, as Kim mentioned earlier, Kim and I are working on expanding the existing 105L lease programs to cover various health and BIA buildings. We found a local appraiser over Duluth that has experience in working with tribal governments and will be moving forward with this project shortly. We're looking for some detailed plans yet of some of our buildings that they require to do an appraisal. If they do not exist, it will require this appraiser to come on site to do some physical measurements, but feel we can provide nearly everything they need off-site. Let's move on to KBFT. KBFT continues to provide online radio content with many upcoming events for the summer. A current list of scheduled activities and upcoming events can be found at www.kbft.org. On a different telecom tower project, Bois Forte's telecom towers are in need of having an engineering review done to certify the structures are sound to satisfy FCC compliance. We'll be sending out RFPs for this review within the next couple of weeks. Tower locations within this review include the Net Lake PD Tower, Blacklock Trail Tower, and WELY Tower in Ely. And the last project is the Bois Forte website. IT is currently working with W.A. Fisher to redesign the Bois Forte website. Eddie has been working close with W.A. Fisher and is nearly ready to present the proposed changes to the council for approval. And with that, that's about it. If anyone has any questions, please let me know.
Thanks, Randy. I have just a comment that I know that you had mentioned with your fiber to home project that once we get that project completed, that you'll be training some people to work or maintain the network, correct?
Correct. That's the idea of the project. Overall support is going to be provided by CTC, but local support is going to be by the existing IT departments. I really feel that both, the IT department for the tribal government will be handling both sides, but I don't think there'll be an exceptional amount of trouble ticket calls. If there is, we may need to expand IT by one support staff just for the fiber to the home project. But I think we'll kind of play it by ear, see how it goes within the first few months.
Thanks, Randy. Any questions
Hey,
for
Kath, I
Randy?
had one question.
Go ahead.
Hey, Randy, I just had a question by a couple of band members that when they laid the fiber optic cable down, and are they gonna come back and are the yards gonna be repaired where the machine was going in and kind of made some pretty deep ruts and stuff like that? And so they were just wondering if their yards will be brought back up to where they were before line was put down.
Yes, they will. Right now, the only thing in the ground is the interduct. They have to come back and re-pull or pull fiber through the interduct and install the electronic devices on the roadways. Once that fiber is starting to be pulled, they are under contract to repair all lawns in all areas that are damaged.
Okay, I can let them know then. Thanks, Randy.
Yep.
I believe Shane has his hand up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I just have two questions. Randy, now regarding the fiber home project thing, is once it's complete, I know that at one time the council was talking about putting some more lots down by where Dave lives and Benny Bones lives down that way. That end down there, and they're going to extend that, looking at maybe extending that out onto the main road. Put lots back there. Would it be hard to add on to that, the fiber home thing?
No, our existing design took into consideration multiple locations throughout the reservation where we thought we would expand in the future. Although we won't run fiber to them locations, the locations will be able to expand throughout them areas and connect up.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. Any other questions for Randy? Good report, Randy.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you, Randy. The next report will be from Tara Gizik for Judicial Services.
Okay. Good morning, Tribal Council.
Good morning, Tara.
Judicial Services Department update for the Reservation Tribal Council. I started as the new Judicial Services Director on May 23rd. I have 3 short weeks under my belt right now, so this will be the shortest report. We are considered fully staffed right now. The staff we have now are Janelle Smith, she's the clerk of court, Marion Holmes, which is the probation officer, and Christine Isham, which is the Tribal Justice Grant Coordinator. She's new and she started on May 9th of this year. I just can't say enough how great this staff is. They work together really well and they're so organized, which I love that. Okay, the period I'm reporting on is from May 1st to June 15th today. We had 2 Boys for Tribal Children's and regular court sessions, dates completed. And then 3 Boys for Tribal Court dates completed. 3 in custody arraignments and 1 pretrial hearing, 2 return of bails for compliance, which is a good thing. 1 MDE multidisciplinary team meeting. We completed 2 special executive director directives, and they were completed the very next day. Tribal court phones are converting to a new system right now, so we can receive calls, we just can't send any out, so we might have to do that on a separate phone system. So thank you for your patience. IT is working with us on that. 1 mandatory training was completed by all 4 court staff. And we're researching 4 new trainings for the court staff, varying from in-person training to online, pending funding approval. So we'll need funding for that. I'm working with Jeff on updating court professional contracts. We have quite a few contracts that we need to update for court professionals. We had one staff meeting, but we also participate in senior management meetings, ARPA, grants and budget teams, personnel policy revision, BIA programs, and other general committees and collaboratives. So I'm not totally reporting on that. Marion Holmes, probation officer, will be available in Vermilion on the first and third Wednesday of each month. She's unable to be there today, but please call 218-757-3462. We can note your probation check-in information and she'll get back to you. The next court date is Wednesday, June 22nd from 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And virtual court is going very well. I like that. All cases have been seen. 0 court sessions have been canceled, and most defendants and clients are able to participate virtually. This concludes my short report.
Any questions for Tara? That was the shortest report.
Yeah, I have.
Thank you, Tara.
Under my belt, so it's short.
3 weeks that's pretty good for 3 weeks, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Big witch.
Okay, thanks, Tara.
Thank you, Tara. The next department report will be Jackie Wilson with the Minneapolis Urban Office Report.
Morning, Jackie. You're muted. We can't hear you, Jack.
How about that?
Yep.
Okay, let's move the microphone. Some of what I'm reporting involves non-band member and band member. So I'll try and point out when there's a difference. So we have clothing donations here. So we've had 25 people, and this is for the report for month of May. We had 25 people come in and look for clothes. Probably 10 of them were band members. We had 85 people getting food. There were about 24 band members in that. We had 34 people get the state permits. 11 people looking for resource referrals. Donations, we got four donations in, and those were mostly clothing and housing items, household items. We had 8 people in looking for the phone, using the phone, 3 using the computer for like housing search and things like that. We had 16 people just coming in to talk. Sometimes they need support or they need to help somebody to help them organize their priorities, what they need done right away and things like that. Sometimes it's ID, sometimes it's housing, sometimes it's spiritual and cultural stuff. So we try and help them, give them direction in those places. So 7 people wanted to speak with me specifically about issues similar to what I just mentioned. We had our open house. It was an ice cream drive-through. So all the ice creams were prepared in cups already. May was Indian month down here, so everybody's having their open houses. We usually have a dessert bar, and so and drawings, but we didn't do the drawings because of COVID. We didn't have any this year, but we did have 53 people come through for the open house. Talked with 2 people regarding the burial fund. Sometimes they needed the form, and sometimes they just needed to know that there was a burial fund. Medical emergency forms, helped with somebody with those, gave 1 tribal ID. With unsheltered or homeless supplies, we gave out 6 bags of those. Helped 2 people were housed that needed some basic household supplies like cookware, dishes, and things like that. I've had 3 people request hotels because they're homeless and didn't have anywhere to go. Food cards, they requested 4 people requested those, and I don't have any more of those. Powwow buttons, we got the buttons for the Sagi Baga powwow like Tuesday evening, and I sold 50 buttons for them by Friday. We had 6 people that I just checked up on and followed up with when we gave them referrals and things like that. We had an elder pass, so I prepared some wild rice, and a friend of mine made 50 pieces of fry bread and took over to the family. I've had 11 texts, Facebook messages, 18 of them. 2 people I helped with gas. 2 people applied for CSBG, gave out diapers to 5 people. I posted 46 times in our urban area site. I wanted to explain, when I keep saying we, I have 2 WEX workers. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, Mille Lacs Band runs a WEX program, which is part of the old, and I used to be called Department of Labor, but it's called something else now at the federal level. But people can work 720 hours in that program, and then they get, at the end of the 720 hours, they get a $2,100 bonus for finishing. It's work experience, so it's a stipend that they get. It doesn't cost us anything other than my time and space. I have 2 of them right now. I've had 1 person successfully complete it and 2 people didn't complete it, and I have 2 people that are currently in it. That's Rachel Ekholm and Aaliyah Wallet. Those are, Aaliyah Wallet is Ray Wilson's daughter. I don't know if any of you remember Dorothy Wilson, but that's her granddaughter. And then Rachel Ekholm is Kim Deegan's daughter. They're all of these people are band members, by the way. The building, I also kind of manage the building itself. So I don't know if you guys want that included in this report, but I did. The building maintenance person had medical issues. He had some surgery and it was extended out because of some additional health issues that took place. So Nancy Anderson, the person that completed the WEX program, came in and filled in for him through Minnesota Chippewa Tribe. We've also continued to hire her in the afternoon so that Robert Vilas will be back. He's actually back now in the mornings. And then when Nancy gets back from her volunteer work that she does every summer, she'll pick up the afternoon hours. So it'll kind of balance some of the work for Bob. Meetings, I met virtually with the unsheltered team for the mud group, as well as, some of our staff meetings. I've been requested to develop a one-day training for self-care for this Family First program. They asked if I would do that. So I'm looking at doing that. Let's see what else. I think that's about it as far as the brief narrative. Now the events coming up would be the Veterans Dinner on November 11th. We're going to have an issue with location because the Minneapolis Indian Center is closed for a couple of years for renovations. So, but we haven't had that in a couple of years, so we're starting to work on that again. We're planning for the picnic on August 13th, which is a Saturday. So we've already started planning and organizing that. We're working on school supplies. If I can get the school supplies organized and everything, I think I'd like to give them out at the picnic this time and see how that works. What I usually have to do is get a list of the children from enrollment, that kids that are actually enrolled, so I can give those school supplies to them. The language classes through Jalen's program, I have to get that organized. We've also been given the diaper money that Wendy mentioned, so we have to put that order in. I have some issues and concerns. The food supply, we've been giving food away that we have, just trying to get it out, because we had some food boxes, we've had some frozen food that we got, and we tried to give that all away and get it cleaned out. We've started putting stuff out on the sidewalk, stuff that's close to expiring or whatever. People pick that up and seem really grateful for that. The issue that I have with food supply is we can't apply for food through the food group. I don't know if I want to do that again. You can see in my report, I mentioned in my report the number of people that come for food, and it does take some time for us away from, because there's so many non-band members that come. I don't know how you guys feel about that. But we do, with the increasing budget costs for food down here and everything. I am concerned about our tribal members making sure they have their needs met. One thing that I would like to purchase is butter, toilet paper, and cooking oil because they don't usually get those things at food shelves. Elders needs, I'm requesting, and I've brought this up before in a casual manner, requesting that the offset years that the up north elders receive that. I'm requesting down here that they get the elders needs fund available to them in the off year, because I believe they're eligible for that every 2 years, right?
Right, Jackie, and I know that that's on the radar for the tribal council with regards to opening the, we need to talk with Terry about opening up the elder needs program to all Minnesota, not just the service area. So we're looking into that, just so you know. Okay, yeah, because I do have people that could use that. As far as the building opening to the MCT building, I haven't opened it up yet. Some of the other buildings are open, but we have requests. We have had requests for wakes and things like that for the building, but I haven't opened it to that. We have an issue with unsheltered people in their mail. They can get it general delivery down there, but Miranda, Elena did have issues, not Elena having issues, but our people having issues with getting mail down here. So you may see in your notes somewhere that checks have been sent out, checks have been returned, and things like that, because you have to pick up your mail if it's general delivery, I believe, on the day it arrives. And some of them don't have access to go back and forth on general delivery. So that's kind of an issue that I wish we could find out a solution for. I'm on the donations committee, but I haven't attended one meeting. They had one in January or February, and for some reason I wasn't listed on that team, so I wasn't able to get into it until after the meeting happened. And that's the last one that I'm aware of. So I'm asking, did you guys change how you review donations and make decisions, or what's going on with that? There's still the donation committee, Jackie. I'm just not sure why it hasn't been meeting or anything like that. So we'll check on that. Okay. Thank you. Yep. See, so I think that's all I have. If anybody, oh yeah, I do have one more. And I did discuss this briefly with Jalen, but I wanted to know, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I did bring it up with one of our past elders that traveled on, what our teachings are, because there's 7 grandfather teachings here, and there's just different, whatever. And like this recent one that was put out by, I think it was human service staff. I asked Peyton. I asked where they got those 7 teachings, because I was curious to see if they were Bois Forts, and they got them from Leech Lake. So I asked if they asked any of our elders what our teachings are. I'm sure they're probably similar, but I would prefer to have Bois Forts teachings. Does that make sense? So if anybody knows, let me know. That's it. Is this the kind of report you want? It's new, so. Yeah, that was good, Jack. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Yep. Any questions for Jackie? Just as a FYI, Kim put in the chat that the per capita day is August 12th. Okay. And I wanted to mention the 46 posts that I put on our Bois Forte page. They usually have to do with employment or powwows or some cultural teachings or whatever. So those are the kind of things that we usually put on there. Okay, thanks, Jackie. Yep. Any questions for Jack? Okay, thank you. Good report.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. And then finally, we have Carol Burr with probably the shortest report for planning and community development.
Hello, everyone. I started on, I started on Monday, so I've only been here one day. And, but I do have a report. Doris provided some information update and Dave provided some information, so I will run through that fairly quickly. She has applied for Indigenous Communities Grant, EDA, it's an EDA grant for a community health building. And the amount is 2.9 million from EDA. And the match or amount that Bois Forte would need to provide would be 718,000. This building is planned to be located in Nett Lake west of the fitness center. We're waiting on a response on that, if we were awarded or not. So that's in play right now. We were awarded a community development block grant from HUD, and this is for that Vermilion garage that has people, you've already heard about it. It's going to be a garage and food shelf, and the award was 700,000. It's a $2.2 million project, and there's 1.5 million from BIA ARPA funds that they had to go with the 700,000 they got. The location for that is planned to be across from the entry to Fortune Bay, where that dirt part is. And then she also applied for an Indian Health Block grant to HUD. That was denied. That was planned to be used for the elderly unit. So I am going to keep looking for that. And I do have some ideas. My previous employer said they'd be willing to help with that. So I'll find out what kind of funding sources are out there from them. And we can also reapply for that this winter. So we plan on doing that. She is working on the implementation of a grants management system at Bois Forte, and she's arranging for demos for the staff on that project. Other grants she's applied or submitted is the ARPA violence intervention. And that's for 120,000, 431. A Saving Lives project she applied for, that's 70,500. A VW mitigation funds, there's the first one is for 172,179 for tandem truck plows and a sander. The second one for that mitigation fund is 299,263 for a lowboy and front plow and wing and spreader. And the third, they're waiting on funding allocation to see what they can apply for. And then she applied for an EHDI. It's the second year grant. Other grants she is submitting. She's also submitted other grants and congressional direct spending requests that she's waiting on, and we'll update when we get more information. So next meeting, hopefully we'll have more information. We are looking for grant writers. We currently have 2. The 2 that we have are pretty much strictly for ARPA funding. And we actually need some for construction. The 2 we have don't have any experience applying for construction grants. So we are looking for that. Oh, and we're also advertising for an A&E from architect firms, which will help in the timing and readiness to prepare construction grants. A lot of that stuff needs to be available immediately, and these grants the turnovers are fairly quick. So we're actually putting that RFP out for that, and then that architect engineer who gets awarded, we will have them available for I think to 2024. So that just helps expedite our applications. I am going to start working on a feasibility study grant to NBD. I have it right here. Sorry. NBDI. It's a Native American Business Development Institute grant. So I'm going to apply for that. The max is 75,000, and that's so we can do a feasibility study on hemp. And so I'm trying to collect the data now because this is due June 27th. Other than that, Dave is helping housing with their studies or, reviews of the homes that they need to help getting rehabbed. He's also working with on that new C store. There's some issues with the Y store. They're trying to figure out the road situation there, because there's the two roads that enter 169 and there's been accidents. So they're trying to figure out how they can mitigate that so that's not going to happen anymore. He's also working with the Health and Human Services, the new building that I was just talking about. And the OEO shelter that Pam had gotten awarded for. So he's working on those projects as well. That's my report. I thought it would be short. I was just going to say, hi, here's how you can get a hold of me, but I did have some information for you.
Good report, Carol. Thank you and welcome aboard again. We're glad
Thank
to have
you.
you back.
Big Witch,
Thank
it's
you.
good. Big Witch, it's good to see you.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad to be back.
Any questions for Carol? Okay.
Okay, thank you to all of the directors and those who sat in for the directors who weren't able to make it. Thank you for those reports. Next on the agenda, we have Jalen Strong with resolution number 115-2022 Heritage Center HVAC repairs A1 refrigeration, $83,280.
Morning, Jay, again.
Morning. Well, afternoon now.
Good afternoon now.
Yep. So this one basically is just covering the cost for the HVAC. So 20,000 of it's going to be covered by the IRRB, and then the rest will be with us. And it might come out a little bit lower at the end of it, just because they're going to be purchasing all the equipment through or with the tax exemption status.
Okay.
So it might save a little bit of money, but
And this is coming through the ARPA funding, correct?
yep.
Yep. And it's basically the HVAC system is detrimental to the Heritage Center for the artifacts and also for the to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 inside. So it really does need the repairs. Is there any questions on Jalen's resolution here? Okay, if not, I'll call for a motion to approve resolution 115-2022, the Heritage Center HVAC repairs for A1 refrigeration in the amount of $83,280, excuse me.
Move. Second.
By Travis, seconded by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good job, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jalen. Up next on the agenda is Deanna Drift with 3 resolutions.
Morning, Deanna.
Hi.
Or good
so the
afternoon, sorry.
Happy lunchtime, right?
Yeah.
So the first resolution I and Lisa have is for Clint Miller, and it's a recreational lease modification. He is asking to remove his deceased wife and his brother, Rich Miller, who is also a tribal member, and then adding a non-band member, Martha Bush. And that's all I have for him. So I'm asking for your approval on the lease modification and the resolution.
Okay. You're adding, what's her name?
Martha Bush.
Martha Bush, and adding also his brother?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions on the lease modification for Clint Miller? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the lease modification resolution 116-2022.
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Travis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay.
And then the next one, we just approved a lease for Lawrence Connor Jr., T-John.
Okay.
But he has switched financial institutions, so we are going to need to cancel that residential lease. And then I am asking for approval on a HUD 184 residential lease.
Okay.
And
The
their
first
resolutions are, you have them.
okay. Thanks, Dee Dee. The first resolution is the lease cancellation for Lawrence Connor Jr. With his previous funding agency. So do I have a motion to approve that lease cancellation?
Move.
Moved by Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Okay, so the next one is the lease issuance for the HUD 184 residential lease for his.
Move.
Hey, moved by Dave. And let me finish. Go ahead.
Second.
Second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good job, Dee Dee.
Thank
Make
you.
way.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Up next on the agenda is Melissa Wright with a contract for Hearth Connection housing agreement for the new fiscal year.
And I will be filling in for Melissa this morning. She had schedule conflict. So,
Good morning, Kathy.
Good
Or
morning.
good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Well, good morning, afternoon, yeah, whatever it is.
Okay.
All right. So what we're asking for is for the council's approval for the annual Hearth Connection housing agreement for the new fiscal year. This agreement allows us to receive and provide housing subsidy vouchers for our clients in the Hearth Connection homeless program. This year, they have made the contracts for a 2-year term, and we have been awarded $178,227. And this is for a 2-year stretch of time, and not just for 1 year, it's for the full 2 years.
Okay. Any questions for Kathy on the contract or the agreement with the Hearth Connection?
Is this, I have a question real quick. Is this an ongoing contract, Kath? Do you have any idea or no?
Yes, it is. It has been running approximately, as far as I know, for about 15 years, I believe. Melissa started out in this program working as the person to contact for it. And right now we currently have up to 10 people that we help pay for their rents.
Miigwech, thank you.
No other questions. I'll call for a motion to approve the contract agreement with the Hearth Connection program.
Move.
Moved by Chief. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. Good job, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kath.
Thank you, Kathy. Next on the agenda is me. And I have the lease renewal with the Damiano Center of Duluth for the Duluth Urban Office. So the term of this lease shall begin on July 1st, 2022 and terminate on June 30th, 2023. Just some particulars of the contract is the monthly rent is $554. And then on the last page of the contract, you'll see some additional costs for phone, Wi-Fi, storage. So the monthly total for the contract would be $694 a month.
Okay. Any questions on the lease renewal with Damiano? How's it going there, Wendy?
Going good.
Okay.
Eventually, I think it would be nice if we had our own space.
Okay.
I know that
Maybe that's,
that takes time.
yeah, we'll look for something because things get scooped up fast in the Duluth area.
Yeah, but it's nice though that we have so many services within the building, but it would
Okay.
eventually be nice to have our own space later on
Okay.
down the line.
Well, doesn't hurt to look, right?
Yep.
All right, good. Any questions or comments on the lease renewal with Damiano? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the lease renewal from July 2022 to July 2023.
Move.
Moved by Shane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, silent, motion carried. Okay, next, last thing I have is adjournment.
Move.
Oh, moved by Chief to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. I want to thank all the directors and everybody for giving their reports. That took a lot to do. It did take up time on the agenda, but it's a way of better communicating what's going on within the government. And as you can see, our directors are extremely busy. And so we do appreciate all that you've done and all that you reported on today. And then other than that, everybody please be safe. The virus is still out there, so please take care of your elders and those with medical conditions that may be more susceptible. So please take care and be safe. Giga Wabaman.
You go over, man.
Woman.